And of course, now it's not going to behave. Oh, here we go. Nope, 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 nope. I've got to do something else. There. Come back, come back.
You know, Vanessa, talking to it doesn't make it work any better.
Why not?
Well, I've
It
tried it, it
should.
doesn't work.
It should.
should.
And this
I
is still
agree.
not what I'm looking for. Wait a minute. I thought I had, there we go. There's what I want. We want to talk about mutual reception. Mutual reception is a relationship between planets, and they're kind of like in a mutual admiration society. That's what mutual reception does. They complement each other because they are in each other's home, full, exalted, or detriment. And this takes a little while. This takes a little while to chew on. You're going to have to chew on this for a little while. But once you get it, you'll understand it. If you look at this particular document, it has 2 pages. And certainly you can read through the text at another time, but let's look at this chart. Let's look at this chart. Okay, so it starts with, and in column 1, it starts with the sun. When the planet in column 1 is in one of the signs below it, and the planet in column 2 is in the space directly to the right of that sign, it indicates that the planets are in mutual reception. So what that means is when Sun is in Cancer or Taurus, it is in mutual reception with the moon in either Leo or Aries. When Sun is in Gemini, Aquarius, or Virgo, it is in mutual reception again with Mercury in Leo or Aries. You see how to read this now? Okay, so it gets a little simpler here. Now we come down to the next one. Now we're talking about the moon. When the moon is in Gemini, Aquarius, or Virgo, it is in mutual reception with Cancer or Taurus when Cancer and Taurus or Taurus are in Mercury. And the same thing applies for column 3 and column 4. When Venus is in any one of these planets, it's in mutual reception with Libra, Pisces, and Taurus when it's in Mars. But that's only just this line, just this line. As when we go down here to Sagittarius, Cancer, and Pisces, we're looking at those planets when they're in Jupiter. And they help each other out because they are, it's like, if you, you know, it makes sense to me, and I'm trying to think of how to explain it. But when you hit it, oh, perfect. When you hit the same vibration to which a glass is tuned, you can break the glass. Ella did it, Caruso did it. You know, they sang a particular note and they were able to shatter this glass because that glass was of the same vibration. So that's what this is. Because they are in each other's planets, they've set up similar vibrations, and their energies cooperate with each other. They add additional pathways of communication and manifestation. So that's what we're talking about with mutual reception. And we're going to look at mutual, because there are a couple of planets in chart number 7 that are in mutual reception. And it makes a difference in how you're going to look at the native. And that's what we talk about when we're talking about a chart, a natal chart. We talk about the native. Okay. Sense? Make sense yet?
Do we have visual examples that we can look at? Like on a chart, not just in,
Okay, look at chart number 7. Did my screen change? Do you see chart number 7, or is it still mutual reception?
no, I see that.
Okay, so if I'm going to make this a little smaller so that you can see the whole chart.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to make it smaller still. Okay, so now you see the whole chart. If you look at here, Venus is in Aquarius and Mercury is in Pisces. Well, they are in each other's sign of exaltation. If Venus were in Pisces, it would be exalted. If Mercury were in Aquarius, it would be exalted. So now they've just switched. So Pisces has an affinity for Venus and contributes to the energy of Venus in Aquarius. Aquarius has an affinity for Mercury and contributes to Pisces energy in Mercury. And this is definitely evident in this particular native's chart as we go through it. So these two planets, Mercury and Venus, are in mutual reception. And you have the aspectarian where you know, after you finished calculating all of the aspects, you put the aspects in, and there's a line dividing the aspects above the line are the area above the line is where you put the aspects. The area below the line is where you put the declination relationships, and is also where you can put mutual reception. In order to indicate mutual reception, you write an MR and you circle it. So in the column that has in the row for Mercury and the column for Venus, there should be an MR for mutual reception. And here I gave it to you here, right here. You see, here's Mercury and Venus in mutual reception. Okay, another one here. Well, this is just a repeat. Here we have Venus and Mercury, Mercury and Venus, just the same thing. But now we go down here and we have another example of mutual reception for Mercury and Jupiter. Well, how does that be? How can that be? What do you see the relationship between Mercury and Jupiter in this chart? Who rules Mercury?
Virgo,
Who rules Jupiter?
Pisces.
There we go. Mutual reception. They're in each other's home. Do you see it?
Yep.
You're getting to understand it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do another one. Here we have an interesting mutual receptions are all with what planet?
Mercury.
Yeah, they're all with Mercury. So that's something that you want to consider when you start delineating. But anyhow, so we have another mutual reception between Mercury and Neptune. So where is Neptune?
7th house in Virgo.
In Virgo, and Mercury again is in
Oh,
Pisces.
yeah.
So there's another mutual reception. A mutual reception between Mercury and Neptune. a mutual reception between Mercury and Jupiter, a mutual reception between Mercury and Venus. So that's a pretty significant planet, would you not say? And if you look at the astrodynes, that's this stuff over here. I sorted these sections by power. And it is that Mercury is the most powerful planet in this chart. Because it's getting a lot of energy. It's getting a lot of encouraging energy to be able to manifest in different areas of life. But before we do that, let's go over to, is this one? Nope, not that one. Not that one. To this. Because when you look at a planet, you want to go step by step to make sure you don't leave anything out. And in order to do that, you want to follow an ordered approach to chart delineation. You're going to find this detail in course 10-1, the natal horoscope. And if you look at the, if you look at the sign, you see that they complement each other. Oh, come on, give me a break. So first we want to look at generalities. And I want you to take, and as I'm going through this text, and this is a shortened text, I want you to look at the ordered approach form. Everybody there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So first we're looking at generalities. Retrograde, stationary, above the horizon, below the horizon, east and west. That's the first box. That's the first box on the top of the page. How do you know if a planet is retrograde? This R indicates that the planet is retrograde. So now you can put in that box that Jupiter, Mars, and Neptune are retrograde. And retrograde doesn't negate possibilities or the characteristics of the planet in the sign, but they do make them, oh, I just had the word, but they you have to work at them. They are, oh, I just lost the word. See what happens when you're 70 years old? Latent, there we go. These characteristics are latent. They do express, but they come about a little slowly. And a retrograde is, it goes over some information and then it comes back forward again. So yeah, and that makes these characteristics latent. They are still there. It's that at times you have to work at them in order to get them to do what it is that you want to do. However, because these three planets are in a mutual reception relationship with Mercury, do you think that that would make any kind of difference? What is Mercury?
Fast.
No, but what does Mercury govern?
Mental, like the mind.
Mm-hmm. Not the mind, kind of the mind, yeah.
Mental energy.
Yeah, but more than that.
Communications.
Communication. Mercury talks about communication. Remember, Mercury is the messenger of the gods. So These planets have set up communication with Mercury because they're in mutual reception. So these things are not as difficult to access for this particular native because of that relationship.
So if so if Mercury wasn't in mutual reception because of the retrograde, it would
They
be,
would be subdued. These planets would be subdued. Their influence would be a little more subdued. It would be latent. It would take a while to express itself. Because it's looking back and then it has to come out. Okay, so let's continue. Well, that's the long form. I don't want the long form. Okay. So now let's look at the south, north, east, and west. How many planets are in the southeast?
One,
One. How many planets are in the northeast?
5,
5. How many planets are in the northwest?
1,
And in the southwest?
3,
Right. Okay. So, this particular chart can fall into the category. There are things called chart shapes, and that might be a good idea for you to look at. Wanda Sellers has a book on chart shapes, and Paul Brewer talks about them as well. And if you look at this chart shape, this could be considered a seesaw because it's two sides. The 1st and the 7th. And then you have 3 outliers. But this is kind of a seesaw. One or the other, one way, back and forth, back and forth. And so that's that. We're not going to go any further than that right now. So that's another thing that you can use to describe this chart. It is a seesaw. It has a seesaw shape. And you can look that up online and you can get descriptions of how that affects the chart. Now, how many planets are in angular houses?
7,
Yeah. And how many in succeedent
1,
and in cadent?
2.
Okay. What does that tell you about this person?
Volume is very high.
Mm-hmm.
Just lots of energy for
Mm-hmm.
the planets.
Mm-hmm.
They would be like a go-getter or a
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. Most definitely. So they have to, and then what planet is in the succeedent house?
Uranus.
Uranus. Yeah. So,
Oh,
yeah, the succeeding houses correspond with fixed signs, and so they kind of provide some kind of stability. But here we have Uranus in the succeeding house, and it's in Aries. So when we get to that, we're going to look at that. And what else are we going to look at because it's in Aries?
where Mars is.
Yeah. Great, great, great. Okay. Next, let's go to the next box where we have personal, companionship, and public. What are the personal houses?
1, what, 12, 1, 2,
And 3.
and 3.
So what planets are in personal houses? How many?
6,
How many and what are the companionship houses?
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yep, 4, 5, 6, and 7. How many planets there?
4.
Look again.
Oh, sorry.
I sure did mess that up. Yeah, 4. You're right. You're right.
Okay.
And any planets in public houses?
No.
No,
So would you, looking at that, what would you say about this person?
They like to keep to themselves.
You would think so.
Or they're very just kind of low key.
You would think so, right? But can we really say that with all of that stuff in angular houses?
Wouldn't it be like their personal, like, it would be about their personal freedom and expression, kind of always in like an opposition with relationships.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. You're gonna read my chart, Jill. Are you coming to the convention? We're gonna set you up. Anyhow, so now let's look at life, wealth, association, and psychism. What are the houses, the trinity of life?
1, 5, 8,
Not 8, but
1, 5,
9.
9,
Because they correspond to which element?
fire,
Okay, fire, right. Okay, what planets are there?
Saturn, Mercury, the sun, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Saturn, Venus, the sun, and Mercury.
And they also happen to be in the angular house. What planets are in wealth, and what are the wealth houses?
2, 2, 5. Wait, sorry. Shoot.
2, 6, and 10.
Yep, 2, 6, and 10. And what do we have there?
Uranus and Pluto.
Yeah, Uranus and Pluto. So what might you imagine about this person's possessions, this person's wealth? And then also something to consider. The houses of association.
That's 3, 7, and 11.
And what do we have there?
3 planets.
3 planets, right. And how about,
Neptune, yeah, Neptune, Mars, and Jupiter.
yep. And how about psychism?
Psychism is 4, 8, and 12.
And how many planets do we have in psychism?
Just the moon.
Just the moon. Okay. But oh my goodness, look at
Can I-
that. You know, now that we look, Go on, Jill.
Can I ask you something about wealth? Because
Yeah.
so if the person has Uranus and Pluto in their houses of wealth, would that, maybe they would win the lottery? Like other people's money and quick, crazy.
But other people's money is not in the house of wealth.
But it's
Other people's
Pluto,
money is, where do we deal with other people's money?
that's the 8th house, but Pluto is one of the,
Pluto is the natural ruler of the 8th
yeah,
house. But is it ruling the 8th house in this chart?
no.
No, okay. However, it's good that you look, that's a good thing to notice. Uranus. Now, the second house is not just about wealth. What else is it about?
Values, resources.
Values. Yes, values. So values are not just, certainly you value gold and cars and houses and land. However, you also perhaps value honesty, integrity, loyalty. So morality, that's part of the 8th house as well. I mean, the second house as well. It's not just material values, it's also higher values. Or spiritual values, intellectual values.
Because Uranus is in second house right now, like in real-time astrology.
Okay, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
Because we're getting ahead. If you start looking at specific planets, these are things that you want to notice so that when you go into the specifics of the houses and the planets, you will have a spark to guide you in interpreting it. We want to go through the generalities first.
Okay.
Because the generalities first are going to open, it's going to open the whole thing up for you. It really does. It makes a difference. Now, we want movable, fixed, and mutable. And how many planets are in movable signs or cardinal signs?
7.
Can I ask you? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Go ready.
What are the movable signs?
1, 4, 7, and 10.
Yeah, and those signs are
Saturn.
Aries,
Aries,
Cancer,
Oh,
Libra,
Libra, and Capricorn. So how many planets do we have in movable signs?
3.
3, right. How many planets do we have in fixed signs?
Is that right? 2.
2. And how many planets do we have in mutable signs?
5.
Okay. So notice that. Let's keep going. How many fires? How many planets in fire?
um,
1.
1,
Okay. How many planets in Earth?
4.
How many planets in airs? Now, when you're doing these, you're also going to include the, what are those things called? The ascendant,
the midheaven and the ascendant.
yeah, and the
Oh.
midheaven, right?
Oh, okay. 3 air
Mm-hmm.
and water. There's would be 4 then.
Right. Okay.
Oh.
So
where do you see the ascendant? Sorry.
the ascendant is on the cusp of the first house.
Oh,
It
okay,
says 07 Aquarius, 43 minutes.
okay.
Okay.
And then the midheaven is the
Is at the top,
top.
the line between the 10th and the 9th, 25 degrees Scorpio, 59 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Now, we're looking at degree of emanation. What's the first degree of emanation?
Aries, Taurus, Cancer. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer.
Okay, how many planets in the first degree of emanation?
2.
2. How many, and the second degree of emanation is?
Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio.
Uh-huh. And how many planets there?
Um, one. One?
Look again.
Oh. Shoot. Oh, Oh, wait, hang on. 2?
Look again.
Wait, hang on, where Virgo? Okay, what am I doing wrong?
They're all in the seventh house. There are 3. Jupiter, Mars, and Neptune.
Oh, I was counting sorry, I was counting the wrong thing.
Isn't Cancer part of it too, though?
No, Cancer is the first degree of emanation.
Oh, because it goes to the 4th house. Okay. So those-
And the
And then-
third degree of emanation,
So Vanessa, for the
Yes.
emanation, do we include the midheaven and ascendant or not?
you know, I haven't, but why don't we do that and see if it makes a difference?
Okay.
1, 2,
So if we do that, where's the midheaven
4.
and where is the ascendant?
5,
Midheaven is in the second emanation, and the ascendant is in the third.
Yep.
6.
Okay. Now, we're going to look at the second page. We're going to look at this page here. And we're looking at, these are the astrodynes. This box here are the astrodynes, Rodney. And everybody else, these are astrodynes calculated for you, but courtesy of Paul Brewer's Horoscope 2020. And if you want, maybe we can convince Rodney to give us a class on how to calculate astrodynes by hand.
Yes, yes.
Okay, anyhow, so
Oh,
now,
it's fun. It's totally fun.
oh yeah. So now, I told you that I sorted each one of these 3 sections by power. So the most powerful planet is
Mercury
Mercury. The most powerful house is,
first.
and the most powerful sign is
That'd be Virgo.
Virgo. Wow. Okay, gotcha. Now, we're looking at this column and we want to find the harmony, and the harmony is indicated by a positive number. So in the planets, which is the most harmonious planet?
Jupiter.
Jupiter, yeah. Which is the most harmonious house?
The 11th.
Huh?
The 11th.
The 11th, yes. And which is the most harmonious sign?
Sagittarius.
Yeah. Now, discord is indicated by a negative number, a number with a minus sign in front of it. What's the most discordant planet?
Neptune?
Neptune, the most discordant house.
First?
And the most discordant sign.
Pisces?
Yeah. Okay, now you've written that down in your ordered approach form, correct? Here, this is the ordered approach form. And you've noted all of these things about this chart in this form, have you not?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
good, because that's going to help you. It's going to, whoops, that's not what I want. That's not what this is what I want. There we go. So now let's go back to the chart. And we're doing the last box on the ordered approach form. And what's the ruler of the first house?
It's Uranus or Saturn.
Yes, It is your Uranus or Saturn, yep. Does this house have any co-rulers? Yeah, all of the planets that are dispositive. Dispositive means they are located in the house. So these planets are going to have an influence over this house as well.
Well,
In addition,
Saturn's right there.
right?
Wow.
In addition to an influence over all over the house that it rules by sign, and vice versa. Now let's look at the second house. What's the ruler of that? And okay, where is Uranus?
Oh, it's in the
It's in the second house. So first house matters are going to be influenced by the second house, because Uranus, it rules Aquarius. The second house is ruled by
It's Jupiter or Neptune.
yes. And where are Jupiter and Neptune?
Seventh house is Jupiter, and Neptune is, where is it? Yeah, seventh as well.
Yeah, okay. So that's going to have a lot to do about, a lot to say about the second house matters. The seventh house is going to influence the second house considerably. The third house is ruled by
Taurus.
the third house. Here's the third house here.
Oh,
This is the third house. Let me get a point.
oh, okay.
Here's
Aries.
the third. Yeah. So what rules the third house?
Mars.
And where is Mars position?
Mars is in the seventh house.
Okay. Fifth house.
Taurus.
And Taurus is ruled by the fourth house. I'm sorry, the fourth. Oh, yeah, we're doing the fourth house first. I skipped and said the fifth. Fourth house is rule. Taurus is on the cusp of the fourth house, and its ruler is
Venus.
Venus.
and Venus is in.
The first house.
Okay. The fifth house. Ruler of the fifth house is
Gemini.
Mercury,
Mercury, and Mercury
Oh.
is in.
the first house.
Okay. Ruler of the sixth house,
The moon,
and the moon is in.
12th house.
Ruler of the seventh house. Fill this in the chart. You just, it'll help you remember. Well, I know that when I write something down, it helps me remember.
Oh.
Ruler of the seventh house is,
The sun
and it's in the.
first,
Ruler of the eighth house is,
Mercury
and it's in the.
first,
Ruler of the ninth house is,
Venus
and it's in the.
the first,
Ruler of the 10th house,
Mars or Mars.
and
Pluto,
Pluto.
And Pluto. Okay.
Okay, Mars first, then Pluto, and the ruler, and those rulers are in the.
Yep, sixth and seventh.
Okay, I would put the seventh house first. That's just my preference. The ruler of the 11th house.
Jupiter,
Mm-hmm. And it's in the,
7th,
and the ruler of the 12th house,
Saturn.
7th,
and it's in the,
1st.
now look at the ruler houses.
No.
Just looking at those houses, just looking at the houses, you can see why the first house is the most powerful. Because everything is, not everything, but there are an awful lot of things that are going back to the first house. The ruler of the 4th, the 5th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 12th. That's 6 houses. The ruler of 6 houses goes back to the first house.
Okay, somewhere I got lost. I don't know how you're getting the is it the sign closest to the,
No, it's the sign on the cusp.
oh, okay.
The sign,
So
on
if
the
it's-
sign, go on.
No, I was just saying, so if it's not inside the house, it's on the cusp of the house?
No,
I'm
the
sorry.
sign on the cusp of the house
Mhm.
is ruled by a planet. And that planet rules the house.
Okay,
The signs in the house are co-rulers.
okay,
Is that better?
yeah.
Write it down and then look at it again. Yeah, I'm not trying to be flippant.
No, I'm sorry.
But yeah. And then the next house that has the most influence is the
7th,
7th. There we got that seesaw again. What is the relationship between the 1st and the 7th house? If we were going to assign an aspect to the 1st and the 7th house, they would be what?
Opposition.
Opposites, yeah. And that's what a seesaw does. And just like a seesaw, which is how opposites behave. When one's up, the other's down. And vice versa. And that's how opposites behave. And that's what we're seeing just in this chart because of the seesaw. So we've talked about power, adaptability, that's the quality, movable, fixed, and mutable. So we know that this person has the majority of planets in angular houses. And in the first house. What does the first house rule? So what does this person have an abundance of?
Personality.
Yeah. See how the generalities help you? And just that one little thing. Okay, now we're talking about adaptability, how quickly they can move and adapt to situations. And the majority of planets in this chart are mutable. So this person can be said to be
Adaptable.
adaptable. If they need to, they can change. Now we're talking about temperament. And we're talking about the elements, the triplicity of the elements. This person has a majority of planets in This person is mud. They have the earth
I
and
know
water.
water.
Yeah, earth and water. So what do we know about this person will be practical and emotional?
Vanessa, when
Yes.
the two Ashbadon or power numbers are that close, are they pretty much considered equal?
Uh,
There's less than 2 points difference between them.
which ones are you talking about?
For earth and water, one's 259 and one's 261. Is that pretty much even, or do you say 261 is
Are
still
you looking at the summary?
the elements? Yes.
Okay. Well, one is still going to be predominant, but they both have a major influence. They're both holding together. And what do we know about the relationship between earth and water?
They form mud.
Yeah. And what else? Well, and what does mud form?
Can be used for bricks to build things.
Yeah. So that's what that's what this person has. Emotional and practical. Then we looked at the life emphasis, and that's the society. The society and the society, personal companionship and public life, wealth, and psychism. And by this, in the society of personal, what should this person be? The majority of planets are in which houses? Personal, companionship, or public?
Personal.
Okay, so what would you imagine? What kind of general statement can you make about this, the native?
Kind of a lone wolf kind of person.
Could be. Uh-huh.
That they kind of rely on themselves.
Uh-huh. And now let's look at the Trinity: life, wealth, association, and psychism. What can we say about the native? The majority of planets are in
Life and association.
life. The association only has 3. Yeah, you could put the midheaven there a little bit, but no, actually the midheaven doesn't go there. Association only has 3 planets.
Okay.
So there is a fiery quality about this person. And what's the sun? This person's sun is where?
In the first house.
Yeah, and what sign?
Is it in air? It's
It's in
in,
Pisces.
These.
It's in Pisces, but this person has a fiery personality. They have a dominant personality. They're full of personality. They present themselves, you cannot miss this person in their presence. They're probably extremely charismatic. Is their whole being out for people to see?
no.
Mhm. Because the first house talks about how you present yourself to the world. And this person presents themselves to the world as a very strongly. What else might you say about how this person presents themselves to the world? They're going to be outspoken because of Mercury. So now if you look at the next section, 5th, we did the house rulers and their co-rulers. So when you look at that, you know that the second house is going to be, have an influence of poverty or restrictions. And also say lead is very solid and dense, you know, compact, as well as eccentricity because of the Uranus. The second house is going to have an influence of, where is it? There it is, illusion and expansion or abundance. The third house will have an influence of aggressiveness. It says strife, yeah, and aggressive, assertive. The fourth house is comfort, gratuities. The fifth house is communication and thought. The sixth house is fluctuation. So, and the sixth house rules the job. So that the job situation, the job environment is going to fluctuate. And job relationships. Okay, the seventh house is is very active and strong. The eighth house is talking again about thought. The ninth house, gratuities, comfort, beauty, values, standards. The 10th house, aggressive and coercion or cooperation. The 11th house, abundance and expansion. And the 12th house, again, restrictions, compact, frugal. Now that we've done this, then we go and look at the whole chart. We have these here. We know that the first house is, the things that are in the first house are going to be subservient to personal inclinations. So, since this person has so many planets in the first house and it's subservient to personal inclinations, what else might you say about this person?
They're like independently driven. They do what they want.
Yeah. What else?
Well, the person's pretty bright. And so, I mean, when you talk about the first house, like they would be somebody who would like be a start up a company, or, you know, like they would have new innovative ideas, especially with the Aquarius influence in there too.
Mm-hmm. Anything
You
else?
just couldn't tell them what to do.
Yeah, you'd have a hard time telling them what to do, exactly. And since you have a hard time, wouldn't they be opinionated?
Yes.
Okay. So now, when we're looking at the whole chart, you want to keep the influence of the houses close at hand. So we've already talked about the prominence of the houses, the signs, the planets, yada, 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 with the astrodynes. Now, we can go and we can look at this chart. And when looking at this chart, I happen to notice that this chart has something called a T-square. It has a T-square between the, a T-square in the movable signs. The moon and Pluto are opposite, almost exact. And both moon and Pluto are square Uranus. Hmm. So we've got it in the 12th, the 2nd, and the 6th house. In order to see some relief from this configuration, you would work on things in the 9th and the 8th house.
Because it's the opposite.
Yeah, the opposite, because, and then there's also, oh, I can't think of the word.
Because it's like you're balancing out the energy, right?
Exactly. And then you would also look at houses, oh, I can't think of the word. Oh, boy. Okay, I'll think of it and I'll send you an email. Because we're coming up against, we've been doing this for an hour. And I want to go in and look at the rest of these things here.
It's an opposition in 2 squares, right?
Yes,
The T
an
square.
opposition. There are 2 planets are in opposition, and both the planets in opposition are square the same planet. That's a T square.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah. So now, the majority of the natives planets are in the 1st house. And the 1st house is a personal house. It's below the horizon. You would think that it wouldn't, it would get some light. But is this native a shrinking flower?
No.
I wouldn't call them.
Thank you, Michael.
No.
Yeah, no, not in the least. Does this person have a lot of energy to work with? Absolutely. And because, well, okay, we've got that T square, so that gives a lot of fodder. I think of the difficult aspects as a gift because they give you something to work on. Yeah, the other aspects will allow you to take a breath as you're working to improve yourself, as you're working to grow. And the difficult aspects are the aspects that allow you to grow. So we've got this T square between the moon, Pluto, and Uranus. And then we've got that seesaw in the 1st and the 7th house. Those planets are opposite. Not only are they opposite, but they're also in mutual reception.
Yeah.
This person is a dynamo. Do you see that?
Mhm.
I think the person could possibly be working with like working in reform, like it would be an activist.
Okay. Okay. So what does this person look like?
This person, like, they'd be really motivated to, like, they'd be able to work with the public.
Uh-huh.
It would be
But
really
what do
good
they
at,
look like? What is their physical presence? What do you think their
Oh, okay.
physical presence is?
I'm out. Oh, because they're angular. They would have an angular features.
Okay. Look at the signs in the house and the planets. This person has an unusual look because Aquarius with Uranus, some eccentricity. Additionally, this person is quite compact.
It's Kurt Cobain.
No. This person is also stunning. Exudes a kind of beauty, but it's a unique kind of beauty because, again, Aquarius, Uranus. Forceful, dynamic, the sun, and outspoken.
Because Venus is a semi-square, or sorry, a semi-sextile to
No,
Uranus?
what, no, just because of the position of Venus in the first house. We're just talking about a physical characteristic. We're not
Okay.
talking about how else this happens. We're going to have to visit this again next week to
Okay,
talk
so
about some more. And then actually, you're going to probably be, your interest will probably be piqued. You'll probably look at this chart more and discover things about it yourself. So you're going to go through this chart house by house, planet by planet. And when you look at now, when we want this, I'm just talking about physical, superficial appearance. Now we want to delineate Saturn. So Saturn happens to rule Aquarius, is a co-ruler of Aquarius. There's also a co-ruler of the moon. What kind of relationship do these two planets have? These two planets are in a relationship of a semi-square, it's friction. So sometimes discipline and emotions get in each other's way. They annoy each other at times.
Because they're both right.
Yeah. The Saturn, yeah, Saturn, although it is a relatively inflexible planet, is pretty adaptable because Saturn wants what it wants and is willing to do whatever it needs to in order to get it.
Saturn's calculated.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's look at Venus.
Would you say Saturn's manipulative?
It can be. So's the moon.
Fair enough. Can I just go back for 1 second, just because
Sure.
I got a little bit off track when you were discussing what the person would look like with the connection of Uranus and Aries. And yeah.
And, well, Uranus and Aries, but also Aquarius and Uranus and an Aries. So we know that this person exudes a great deal of energy. This person is exciting to be around because of the Uranus, because it's an Aries. And Aquarius, they're very active, and especially mentally active. We know this person is outspoken because Mercury is here in the first house. It has a harmonious relationship with Saturn, which is closest to the cusp.
Do you think this person's a musician? Now I'm thinking this person's a musician.
And what makes you think that? You're right.
Well, am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Well, because Neptune, Mars, and Jupiter in an Earth, in an Earth sign in the house of Leo would be a person who has a lot of like creative actualization that they can put out into the public, make it meaningful to share with people. Because that groundedness would give them the fluency and then having Mars in between the two of them would give them the potency to want to take their message outside of themselves.
Yeah.
And the Leo is like, I got to share this with the world.
But what
And
else is this person sharing with the world? Look at that first house.
They're sharing a really powerful message.
What?
And I think it could be like Bono. That could be like Bono.
No, it's not Bono.
It's not Bono.
Nope. It's not Bono. What other kind of interest besides music, which, yeah, and this person is a musician, this is a creative person, but what else would be close and dear to this person?
Other people and their relationships, their friends, or maybe married several times with Mars there and Jupiter
Uh-huh.
in the 7th,
Okay,
maybe.
look at that first house. What's ruling that first house?
Aquarius?
No.
Saturn and Uranus.
Saturn and Uranus and Aquarius. And what concerns Aquarians?
The good. They want like the good for
Good.
everyone.
Uh-huh. So in
Looking
addition
for-
to being a musician, what else does this person talk about?
They're an activist.
Yeah,
They want change and reform.
yeah.
That's why I said Bono.
It's not Bono.
Okay.
Bono
I'm
doesn't
kind of-
hold it. Well, I'm being biased, but Bono doesn't hold a candle to this person.
Okay, now I'm very excited. Well, and the Pluto, yeah, Pluto and Cancer, this person would be very deep. Like this
Mhm.
person would be very deep and they'd be organized in their thoughts. For the
Mhm.
6th house, they would be able to articulate themselves very well about very deep, complex issues. No?
Perhaps, yes, but that's not necessarily because of Pluto, but because of the mutual reception of Mercury and all of the energy, the additional energy that Mercury is getting.
I'm really curious. This is a really exciting person.
It is. It is. It's a woman.
Would they be kind of idealistic in regards to relationships?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes and no. Because Venus in Aquarius, because Aquarius is so much a humanitarian and looking out for the world, they often manifest a disconnect in relationships.
Yeah, I was just looking at the Neptune in the 7th house.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Isn't Pluto the higher octave of the moon?
Yes, it is.
And so with them, and they're in opposition with each other.
Yes, they are.
Are they kind of conflicted?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Oh, this woman had her stuff. She had a lot of stuff, and it did smell sometimes.
Because it would be like between being kind of lost in your emotional creativity and your like being able to be organized, like organizing your thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and putting it out there, like being able to be your creative self.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is it Stevie Nicks?
Who?
Is
No.
it Stevie Nicks from Fleetwood
No,
Mac?
it is not.
Could
It's
it have
not.
been with the 12th house? Because she have faced a lot of opposition and pushback from what she was trying to do,
Absolutely.
and probably during her time, time period.
Uh-huh.
Because she's
Who do you think it is, Chaya?
huh?
Who do you think it is? Because I think you've got an inclination, I think.
I'm getting there. I mean, I'm gonna guess she's probably around, looking at where her other planets are. She's an older woman
Uh-huh.
now. She's
Yeah.
probably in her 50s or 60s. Am I right?
No, she's older than that.
She's older.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's no longer
It's Pluto
around.
in Cancer. This is over 100 years ago then, because it's Pluto in Cancer.
No, it's
100
not
years
that
ago.
long ago.
It would be like the 1930s then.
But like
Yep.
Josephine Baker?
No.
No?
Josephine was older than that.
Oh, okay.
Was older than
Is it
that.
Billie Holiday?
No, it's not Billy. If it were Billy, we'd see more Neptune because Billy had a drug problem,
Right.
whereas this person is an activist,
Maya Angelou?
not Maya. The musician. Maya wasn't a
Oh, musician. Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. God, there's so many people I can think of.
Mhm.
Activist, musician. Not here anymore.
Mhm. 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 Mhm.
Is it Nina Simone?
There we go.
Wow.
Woo!
Yeah. And yeah, she's enjoying a resurgence of popularity now. And when I look at a lot of things that people are using her music for, her product for, I would think that she's rolling around in her grave.
That's probably the retrograde over in the.
Yeah, and at retrograde, but it's also the
Oh
Pluto.
yeah.
It's also the Pluto. But
Okay.
Nina Simone was said to have not started a concert until the entire room was quiet.
Mm.
And she'd just sit there at the piano. She was also a prodigy. At 8 years old, she was playing for her church.
Mhm.
And at 10 years old, she had her first recital. And her parents were moved to the back row in the recital hall so that white people could sit in the front.
Mm.
Nina Simone is from
Brutal.
North Carolina. She could, and at 8 years old, she could play anything by ear. She was classically trained. She's a classically trained pianist,
Wow.
which is certainly, evident in her music because of the different influences of classical, folk, jazz, and rock that are in the music. She was good friends with what's that man's name? Martin Luther King. And she did a lot. She was very affected by the bombing of the church that killed the 3 little girls. And it was that point, that was a pivotal point in her life where she really turned around, and her music became a way for her to speak out about these different things. And she said that it was her responsibility as an artist to speak out.
Yeah.
She thought that it was her responsibility as an artist to use that platform to further universal welfare or justice for all.
Vanessa,
Yes.
I actually saw Nina Simone perform 3 times.
Wow. That must have been that. And you were quiet, right?
Yes.
So-
Yeah.
So Vanessa,
Mhm.
in the 1980, when I was in England, one of Nina Simone's songs made the top of the pops on the charts. My Baby
Mhm.
Don't Care for Me.
Mhm.
In the late 80s, and it just that I think that's when the resurgence of her popularity began, because after that some more of her songs they started showing videos of her, and that's how I learned about her.
Yep. My Baby Don't Care for Me. What was the other one?
Inner Man is really popular.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, and yeah, she was friends and hung out with all, who's it? James Baldwin was an activist. and you certainly know of his prowess, his literary prowess. But you know, they all contributed to the same thing. They were all pushing for the same thing in that time, the late 60s and 70s. And she stuck to her guns. You know, she was opinionated. She held on to what she believed was true. She was an expatriate for a good amount of time. That's when she was in England, and she rose to the top of the pop charts. She died 19 years ago in 2003. And before then, she did a concert with her daughter. And that was a relationship that needed to be healed because she was constantly out on the trail, pushing for social justice, as well as, you know, performing her art.
Can I ask you, moon in the 12th house? Moon in the 12th house, that would be, the person could have a lot of really intense things happen to them in their lives.
What else could happen with the moon in the 12th house?
Now I'm drawing a blank.
Say that again?
I'm drawing a blank now.
Okay, let me get that. Let me get something for you to look at.
Trying to get a disappointment.
Yeah,
Mm.
secrets and psychic matters.
Oh. And that would be secret enemies too, wouldn't it?
Secret enemies too.
So that could be like
the
political
12th house.
people. Sorry.
Sometimes the 12th house is described as the house of self-undoing. You're your own worst enemy.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're talking about her emotions, and with the push and the pull from Pluto, the higher octave, and Pluto's the planet of either cooperation or coercion. So she definitely had to learn how to balance that.
Yeah.
On top of being a Pisces, who's, you know, a sun in Pisces, she's extremely sensitive anyhow. However, she's got that strong Uranian and Aquarian influence that kept driving her.
Yeah, there's nobody like her, that's for sure.
So now that I've revealed who it is, what do you want to do next week?
That's so exciting that we just did that.
Yeah. And this is, reading a chart is an open book test. You don't have to know everything off the top of your head, but the more charts you read, the more that information is going to be there. And you have to read charts. That's get as many charts as you can and read them, try to interpret them. It's good if you have the person whose chart it is, verify the information that you're picking up by reading the chart.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is there somewhere on the Church of Light website where, say, a person just wants to practice, but they don't have the software and they want to practice with understanding the astrodynes? Is there somewhere where we could just access and print off test charts?
No.
No, okay.
Unfortunately not. The astrodynes, you're gonna have to call Rodney. I'm sorry.
Rodney's gonna get a lot of emails.
However, there's a Astrodienst. I'll put it in the you can get charts there. Now they do use the part of fortune and the nodes of the moon and a couple of the fixed stars, which the Church of Light doesn't use. However, you can get an accurate chart using that. Also on that same website, they have links to other charts. So you don't have to cast them. You can go to their Wikipedia section, and you can download the charts of personalities. There's something when you get a chart, it's called the Rodden rating, RODDEN.
Oh, yeah.
And that talks about the accuracy of the time of birth. So of course, a Rodden rating of AA is the top, and Nina Simone's chart is AA. And there are other charts that aren't as accurate, but you can still get some information from them. So that's one way of things. Rodney just put in a astro-charts.com where you can find a database of celebrity charts. And why would you use celebrity charts? Because you also have access to their life and their personalities, and you can verify the information, or you can see how this came to be, how this developed. So, you want me to send you another chart?
Yes, please.
And we'll do the same thing next week?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll do that. We are done. We're it for now. Wait a minute, let me stop the share. And you guys are good. You guys are good. I'm impressed. Apparently I did teach something. I'm always surprised. I really am. I'm always surprised and wonderfully pleased. However, that says more about you than it does about me. You just continue to read. You continue on your journey in the Church of Light. Remember, every one of the books presents astrological information. Every one of the books presents and describes and defines astrological information. So yes, you can just go to the astrology books, and there will be pieces missing if you don't at least check out a little bit of the entire series, the entire 21 courses. So it has been a delight. Thank you so much for stopping by today. It's time for us to stop the recording, and then we will